Hey, yes, you. Do you want a cheap luxury car that costs less than a Civic? Yeah, I think we all do. And here are my favorite 12 available right now. And they'll have you cruising in luxury for pennies on the dollar. Let's go.
Has your car ever thrown a check engine light? Yes? Did you stare at it wondering if it was gonna bankrupt you? Or if your mechanic might try and rip you off? Yes? Well, that's why we all need Fixed. It's this super small OBD module that you keep in your car, and simply plug it in and Bluetooth it to your phone anytime that little light of yours decides to make an appearance. We have them in all the ideal cars here, and since right now you can snag one for 67% off, you should too. Click the link in the description below and get one before the deal runs out. And get yourself back to the wonderful sensation of worry-free motoring. And thanks to Fixed for sponsoring today's vid.
Now, we're definitely gonna throw some wild cards at you. After all, we gotta keep it fresh. And these are all going to be on Auto Tempest. That's exactly where I found them. They are real cars that you can buy today. So we'll post the links down in the comments. But we gotta start with the de facto cheap car that no one will ever think is cheap. A car that we love to talk about. The Italian luxury touring car from the prestigious Maserati and the one and only Quattroporte. Now, I'm gonna be frank, buying one of these brand new was a terrible financial decision. And the reason that you can get them 120 grand off of MSRP today is because, well, they're extremely expensive to fix. But my dear God, did you just hear me? You can buy one of these for 12,000 bucks and you're getting a $130,000 car for literally 90% off. And if you can see past the issues, you better believe that the interior has some of the finest Italian comfort that you can get. If nothing else, you will feel like royalty as you sit there waiting for the tow truck. And the drive, well, it's like being on clouds. And no one's gonna believe that you spent just a little over 10 grand on this thing. Now, next up, unlike a lot of other cheap cars, this is a used luxury car that I would recommend to my friends. It has a V8, is relatively cheap to maintain, and surprisingly roomy. Seriously, you could fill it with 4 Travs, and they'd all have enough room to yell at foreign cars without getting into fights. And because Hyundai still has a pretty bad image problem, they are really cheap. The first generation of the Genesis sedans though, well, sounds great and feels amazing inside. And you could do a whole lot worse for less than 10 grand. Now, I wanna warn you guys, there are 3 cars on this list that are a little bit older. 2 of them would have to be labors of love, things that you have to want to want. This one though, is the easiest one to own. Not only does it drive amazingly, which is actually kind of rare for old luxury cars, but unlike a lot of its successors, it's pretty reliable. It's a German car from back when German engineering really meant something. I don't wanna say it won't have any gremlins. It's an old car that's not a Toyota. So yeah, it will have a few, but let's face it, chasing away a few gremlins is well worth it for the looks you're gonna get when you drive up and step out of the timeless Mercedes-Benz 500 SL, which regularly hits the market for less than 20K. Now, I agree, most cheap luxury is terrible. I mean, well, not terrible like they're bad cars. Most of them are truly amazing cars in their own right. They just have no reliability, cost more to repair than a new car, and require a certain something to love. There are some huge exceptions though. For instance, you can get a used V8 luxury sedan from a company known for excelling in luxury that isn't just one of the most reliable luxury cars, it's straight up one of the most reliable cars that you can buy. Which begs the question, for 12 grand, why wouldn't you buy this Lexus LS 430? I don't suggest buying a Range Rover. You'd have to be stupid to do it. But, and there's a but for every seat, for the price, like we found this one for 8 grand, it's really, really, really tempting. Because as long as you're willing to do the work yourself, you can have a very capable, great looking SUV that has an interior that puts Cadillacs to shame. Heck, Trav just bought one, and yes, he saves a ton of money by doing the repairs himself, but he bought it for 1,500 bucks. And that's an ideal deal. Because seriously, no one does comfort like the Brits. I mean, there's a reason why Range Rovers are the car that rich people drive all the time. Hey, you know what's great? When you have a great luxury sedan, that's a total sleeper. You pull up next to your bro who just grabbed a Mustang, He paid like 8 grand for that slick S197 GT, and he knows he's about to gap you. You smile as you sit in your heated, fully supported seats as you watch his headlights disappear from your rear view, because you paid 1 grand less to own a Volvo S80. And guys, remember a few minutes ago when I talked about an old luxury car? It was a fairly reliable Mercedes. This car is not as reliable. If you want one, it will be a labor of love, a lot of labor with a lot of love. I can guarantee you that no one will give you crap when you roll up, and you will be welcome at any car meet, because no one is going to turn down an ultra luxurious, incredibly prestigious Bentley Brooksland, all for less than 20 bands. Hey, what's a car that everyone owns when they get into cars and then eventually gets rid of because they don't want to do all the maintenance? Did you guess Audi? Because yeah, it's an Audi. And the A6 is incredibly comfortable, has the whole understated German good looking thing going on, and they are cheap. So you get one and you make sure the cycle continues. Now, if you want a nice SUV that's actually super fun to drive and it's under 10 grand, you get an Infiniti FX. I suggest the FX35 because the VQ engine is the same as the Nissan 350Z, and that means there's so much support for it, but honestly, the new 45 is just fine as well. But sometimes power is just more important than luxury. If you ask me, that time is all the time. But that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice luxury, at least according to Chrysler. See, the Mercedes-Benz 300 was their attempt to build a luxury car. And let me tell you, it was pretty good. I spent a lot of time driving around with my buddy in a 300, and there's really nothing to complain about. It does feel nice, just make sure you get the 300C. For less than 15 grand, you get the legendary Hemi V8. That's definitely worth the price of entry. And how about a car that takes some setup? To start out, what you need is a Jaguar XJ. Honestly, it doesn't even really matter which one. They're all super duty swanky inside and look the same outside, but make sure it's not your entire budget. Make sure to save some money and put a Chevy small block into it. Create your own Jaguar, just like they did on Roadkill, and you'll have an ultra luxury car that will blow people's minds. And BMW has entered the chat because, well, they've made a lot of really great luxury cars. Some that are world class, like the 7 Series. Some that go like stink, like the legendary M5 line. But we want to hit you with one last wild card. A car that flies under the radar a lot, that combines the incredible luxury of the 7 Series with the high performance of the M5. It is the 8 Series. And even though they're pretty rare, they are still old BMWs. So you absolutely can get them for under 20 grand. Just do your research, they get weird. And that's a wrap. If you ask me, what's the idealist car on this ideal list today? Well, it's the Hyundai. Rhymes with Sunday, and it's the Genesis. They're newer, super nice inside, and that V8 sounds oh so sweet. Yeah, but which one would you have? Let us know in the comments below. Also, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. I'm Brad, this is Ideal, and promise me one thing after you watch these other idealist videos right here. Keep living the ideal lifestyle.